Hollywood never appreciated her Oscar-level acting talent, only exploited her body for movie business profits. She killed, beat, and assaulted countless men twice her weight, but the world saw how big her breasts were. To Hollywood, she was just an hot-body ATM machine girl, but deep down, she was a true warrior. This is the story of an acute teenage girl who came to Hollywood to acting, but the world started selling her body. This is the story of Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Ingrid Johansson was born right in the middle of Manhattan on November 22nd, 1984. And this home, it was pure creativity. Her dad, Karsten Johansson, was an architect from Copenhagen with roots tied to generations of artists. Her mom, Melanie Sloan, brought a deep Jewish heritage shaped by survival and resilience. So yeah, talent and depth were kind of in her DNA. And the house, packed. She had Vanessa, Adrian, Christian, and her twin brother Hunter, the one who's basically her soulmate in sibling form. The twins were the youngest. And imagine growing up in New York City with 4 kids under one roof. It was loud, messy, and unforgettable. Scarlett went to PS 41 in Greenwich Village and always said she had a very ordinary childhood. But anyone who saw her back then knew she wasn't ordinary at all. She was that kid who put on tap dance shows for family and random guests. Full jazz hands, full performance mode. Her biggest supporter? Her grandmother, Dorothy Sloan, Scarlett's best friend and emotional anchor growing up. But her first brush with Hollywood? Brutal. She was 7 years old, ready for fame, and boom, a talent agent chose her brother instead of her. That crushed her. But Scarlett wasn't built to quit. So at 8 years old, she walks into the legendary Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, the same place that shaped De Niro, Pac, all the greats. And imagine this, a little girl delivering monologues so emotional that grown adults just sat there watching in silence. Scarlett wasn't playing pretend. She felt everything. But auditions? Oh, they were a battlefield. Her biggest problem was her voice. That deep, smoky voice we all love today. Back then, casting directors were like, she doesn't sound like a cute little girl. Rejection after rejection. Scarlett would cry, wipe her face, and show up again the next day. And finally, Hollywood blinked. In 1994, at 9 years old, she makes her on-screen debut in North. Just a few seconds of screen time, but even then you could tell this kid had something. Meanwhile, her home life wasn't the glamour story people imagined. Scarlett later revealed she and her siblings grew up with a lot of trauma, but as she grew, Hollywood's focus shifted. Scarlett was suddenly viewed not for her talent, but for her body. The industry began shaping her image, pushing her toward roles designed to sexualize rather than challenge her. Then came Lost in Translation, a quiet, intimate film set in a Tokyo hotel. Scarlett delivered a career-defining performance filled with loneliness, vulnerability, and emotional honesty. Critics believed she deserved an Oscar nomination, but instead of her acting, audiences fixated on her opening scene, a shot of her in underwear. That single moment became her public identity, overshadowing her brilliance. Hollywood took a hint and created a formula. Low-cut dresses, slow-motion shots, seductive close-ups. Films like Matchpoint, The Island, and The Black Dahlia continued the trend, sexualizing characters that were meant to be complex. The height of that objectification came in 2013's Under the Skin, a bold, experimental film where Scarlett delivers one of the best performances of her career. But instead of discussing its message about gender and identity, audiences talked about the nude scenes. She starred in Don John as a deliberately unrealistic fantasy girlfriend, yet the media focused on her lip lock award. And even in Lucy, where she played a woman transformed into a superhuman, marketing reduced her to a glossy action pinup. Scarlett later admitted, "I was being groomed to be the bombshell type of actor. The industry wasn't shaping an artist, it was shaping an object." 2009, everything changed. Marvel calls. They want Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, for Iron Man 2. Emily Blunt was supposed to play her, but schedules collided. Suddenly, the role is Scarlett's to take. She trains like a beast, shows up ready, and she gets it. But even then, Hollywood couldn't resist. Tony Stark sees her and says, "I want one." Media focuses on her zipper instead of her stunt work. Scarlett said she felt like she was selling a male fantasy, but she didn't walk away. She said, "Watch what I do next." And in 2012's Avengers, she shuts everyone one-up. She wasn't just holding her own among gods and super soldiers, she became the emotional backbone of the entire team. Loki's interrogation scene? Iconic. Her bond with Hawkeye? Beautiful. Critics said she brought the humanity that grounded the Avengers. From there, Natasha Romanoff became Scarlett's character. In The Winter Soldier, she brought guilt, trauma, and redemption. In Age of Ultron, she showed us the heartbreaking truth about her past. In Civil War, she became the moral middle ground. In Infinity War, a field commander. And in Endgame, she made the ultimate sacrifice, a moment that made the whole internet cry. Scarlett didn't just play Black Widow, she redefined her. Now, let's talk about her love life, because it's honestly its own movie. Before she was a household name, a teenage Scarlett experienced her first serious romance with musician Jack Antonoff. Yes, the super producer for Taylor Swift and Lana Del Rey. They dated during high school, attending prom together before their careers took them in wildly different directions. By her early 20s, she was a bona fide star. In 2005, life imitated art when she fell for her Black Dahlia co-star, heartthrob Josh Hartnett. They were the it couple of young Hollywood for about 2 years, eventually splitting due to the pressures of conflicting schedules and intense media scrutiny. Then came the relationship that stopped the presses. In 2007, Scarlett began quietly dating actor Ryan Reynolds. They were obsessively private, so private, in fact, that their 2008 wedding took place in a remote wilderness retreat outside of Vancouver, with almost zero details leaked to the press. For a moment, they were Hollywood's golden couple, both beautiful, talented, and ascending the A-list simultaneously. But the marriage was short-lived. They announced their separation in late 2010, divorcing in 2011. Years later, Scarlett reflected on the marriage to Vanity Fair, admitting that marrying at 23 meant she didn't really have an understanding of marriage. It was a case of two massive careers colliding, and two people who were perhaps too young for forever. Following brief flings, including a highly publicized moment with Sean Penn, Scarlett took a detour away from Hollywood men. In 2012, she fell for French journalist and art curator Romain Doriac. She split her time between New York and Paris, embracing a more European lifestyle. The couple welcomed Scarlett's first child, a daughter named Rose, in 2014, and secretly married shortly after. Scarlett rarely talks about Rose publicly, but she has shared some hilarious anecdotes. She once told Jimmy Fallon that Rose was going through a phase where she didn't want to wash her hair, and another time, she admitted that Rose found her mom's Black Widow action figures a little scary. But the cultural divide and lifestyle differences proved too difficult. She filed for divorce in 2017, noting the marriage was irretrievably broken. It was a tough period, involving custody negotiations, but they eventually reached an amicable co-parenting agreement. By 2017, Scarlett was a twice divorced single mom at the absolute height of her Marvel fame. She wasn't looking for love, but it found her at a familiar place, 30 Rockefeller Plaza. She had met SNL writer and Weekend Update anchor Colin Jost many times over the years when she hosted the show. But when she returned to host in May 2017, the timing was finally right. They hit it off at the after party. Friends described the relationship as different this time, grounded, filled with laughter, and lacking the competitive drama of two actors sharing a household. Jost provided a sense of stability she had been craving. In October 2020, during the height of the pandemic, they married in an intimate ceremony. A year later, they surprised the world by announcing the birth of their son, Cosmo. The name Cosmo is unique, but it actually fits a theme. Just like his big sister Rose, Cosmo is also a type of flower. However, the name took some convincing for the family. Colin Jost joked on Late Night with Seth Meyers that his mom didn't understand the name at first. She kept suggesting Cosimo instead, thinking they'd just forgotten the I. Eventually, though, everyone fell in love with the name. In 2021, Hollywood found itself caught in a storm, and at the center of it all was one of the world's biggest movie stars, Scarlett Johansson. What began as a blockbuster release soon exploded into one of the industry's most heated legal battles, one that challenged the power dynamics between A-list talent and major studios. It all started when Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson's long-awaited Marvel solo film, was released both in theaters and on Disney Plus Premier Access. But according to Johansson, that was never the deal. She claimed she was promised an exclusive theatrical release, a key factor in how her compensation, especially back-end bonuses, would be calculated. So, in July, Scarlett filed a major breach of contract lawsuit against Disney, alleging that the company sacrificed the film's box office potential in order to boost its new streaming platform, Disney Plus. Disney, in response, pushed back hard, saying Johansson had already earned $20 million for the film, and calling the lawsuit sad and distressing, even implying it disregarded the global effects of the pandemic. Hollywood took
took notice fast. Big names like Jamie Lee Curtis, Elizabeth Olsen, and producer Jason Blum publicly supported Johansson. For many in the industry, this wasn't just her fight. It was a symbol of a much bigger struggle over how talent should be compensated in the streaming era. Meanwhile, Black Widow had already pulled in $379 million worldwide, and Disney bragged that it earned another $60 million through Premier Access. That announcement may have pleased Wall Street, but for Johansson and her team, it was the final straw. They believed the dual release wasn't just about pandemic strategy, but a deliberate move to grow Disney Plus, increase its value, and avoid paying out what Johansson called very large box office bonuses. And Scarlett wasn't alone. As streaming became the new frontier, stars across Hollywood began questioning their deals. Some, like Emma Stone, fresh off the release of Cruella, quietly renegotiated. Others, like Dwayne Johnson, weren't affected due to different contract structures. But Scarlett was the only major actor who took the battle public. Then, after months of headlines, tension, and behind-the-scenes negotiations, it happened. Disney and Scarlett Johansson reached a settlement to terms completely confidential, but the statements from both sides told a bigger story. Scarlett said she was happy to have resolved our differences and looked forward to working with Disney again. Disney echoed the sentiment, praising her contributions to the MCU and even confirming future collaborations, including the upcoming Tower of Terror project. In the end, what could have been a career-ending rift became a landmark moment for Hollywood, one that forced studios and talent alike to rethink compensation in the streaming age. Scarlett Johansson didn't just fight for a contract, she sparked a conversation about the future of filmmaking. And that is the story of how Scarlett Johansson and Disney turned a fierce legal battle into a new chapter of collaboration, while leaving a lasting impact on the entire industry. Scarlett Johansson didn't just become a superstar. She survived Hollywood, rewrote her identity, and built a life on her terms. Talent first, humanity always. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful journeys like this, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know in the comments which legend you want next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next biography.